What's up, guys? Welcome back. It is late in the evening. I got my Jefferson's Oceans here. I'm doing what I usually do at night before I go to bed. I'm reading through comments. I'm in the Discord, and one particular video I'm looking at right now is my covered call video, and I'm going through the comment section, getting a lot of questions that I'm seeing over and over again. Super popular video, thousands of comments. So I pretty much wanted to get on and talk about the biggest mistakes that I see people making with the covered call. And we'll go right down the line. We'll look at mistakes in choosing the stock. We'll look at mistakes when actually writing the contract. And then we'll kind of talk about mistakes that I see, the maintenance part before expiration comes and what we need to do right up until expiration. The covered call, if you don't know what that is, like I said, I will link the videos. You kind of have to have an idea of what that is going into this video. It will help you significantly. But with that information on what the covered call is and this being the mistakes, it's like the ultimate, you can't screw it up. If you watch that video and you watch this video, you'll know how to steer clear. A great option strategy for beginners. I know sometimes options can get a bad rap. I know that I have subscribers that are just like, yo, I'm not into options, Finn. And I've been there, I get it. But for a lot of us that are starting, like the covered call, the wheel strategy, cash secure puts, an amazing place to start. So let's dive right in. Let's talk about some of the mistakes that people make when choosing a stock to do the covered call with. So first and foremost, the number one goal when we buy stocks is that we want them to go up, right? Our number one goal is going to be capital gains. Now the covered call is just going to be the cherry on top, the premiums that we collect. So first and foremost, you need to be picking a stock that even if you did not sell covered calls with it, you'd be happy owning 100 shares of, and you think that the growth of that company is going to go up over time, right? We don't want to look at stocks just for premiums or just because they're in the media or they're YOLOs or whatnot. At its core, we're not going to be buying options. Those are more YOLO plays. This is a more conservative options route. So first and foremost, we want to be building up to 100 shares of a company that we really want to own, that we believe in, and that we think long-term is going to go up in value. We want to pick a stock that at least for the short term is going to be trading pretty flat, pretty neutral, or even down, right? I get in arguments with people in Discord all the time when I say that the covered call is it's a temporary short-term bearish, feeling towards a stock. Right, I just said we want the stock to go up, but it's not always going to go up. Stocks don't always go up. So during times where things flatten out, level up, or even right now when they're going down, this is a great opportunity to hedge against a loss in capital gains and collect some premium along the way. We don't want a stock that we think is just going to moon because it's going to make it very, very hard to manage after we write the call. Maintaining that until expiration, we'll find ourselves getting in trouble if things are making huge jumps. Vuzi's a big one for me. I own hundreds of shares of it, so I wanted to do covered calls. It's very, very hard because Vuzi goes up 8% one day. They're down 8% the next day. They're up 12%. It becomes really, really hard. So we see these flat neutral stocks. I think the biggest place we see them is blue chip dividend stocks. I mean, I started with AT&T. You find these, these blue chip dividend paying stocks that trade pretty neutral. Maybe they go up 4 to 6% every single year. Nothing crazy happens. They're blue chips, so nothing in the media can really sway them one way or the other. Find something that's trading flat, a little bit up, maybe like a neutral position, or even like right now, trading down for the short term. You're going to hear me say this all throughout this video. You will be assigned at some point. So you cannot be married to a stock. If you have a stock in your portfolio and you have 100 shares of it, and if it got assigned away and you lost those 100 shares, it's going to beat you up. Or if we're getting close to expiration and you might be assigned and you're losing sleep over it, that is the wrong stock to pick, okay? We cannot be married to a stock and afraid of assignment. When you're making covered calls, assignment should just be one of those things. We expect it. We hope for worthless, but we're going to expect to get assigned. You will be assigned. I don't think anybody's been trading covered calls for any extended amount of time, and they've never been assigned. Things happen. I'm actually at the point now where I want assignment because I like playing right at the money, especially with my stocks that have a cost basis that's really lower than the strikes that I'm picking because the premiums are higher. So don't be afraid of assignment, but don't be married to a stock. If you say, damn it, I'm going to get assigned, you picked the wrong stock. You do not want to do this with a stock that you've had for a very long time and you have a ton of unrealized capital gains. I'll give you a very, very amazing example that I heard Meet Kevin talk about on Graham Stephan's podcast. Graham Stephan, his podcast, they were on there talking about, Kevin, you have all of these shares of Tesla. You, with the volatility, you could be collecting so much premiums. And he made a simple point. He's like, listen, I'm going to get assigned eventually, right? Yes, you are going to get assigned. He had so much unrealized capital gains that if and when he did get assigned, the tax burden wouldn't be worth the risk to just collect a few $1,000s in premium for him. It just wasn't worth it. And I see this in my Discord with people that are learning about the covered call for the first time, but been investing for years. I'm like, yo, I have like 300 shares of this stock. Well, when did you own it and what's your cost basis? Maybe we only want to do a covered call with 100 of those and not all 300, because you will be assigned, and that tax bill when you get assigned is going to be a big deal. So this is really going to be for a new position that you might want to be building, or something that, you realize that you're going to pay the taxes and then you're going to start to do the wheel or something like that. Watch out for unrealized capital gains. Generally know the expiration of the stock that you're going to pick. Is this a monthly? Is this a weekly? Is it SPY and it's every 3 days? So many times I see people building up, I'm going to build up to 100 shares. They get to 100 shares, and they want to write a call, and they want to do weeklies with them, and then they find out that it's a monthly. And I joke and say that once a month, a monthly is a weekly, right? The week before. But you should really know that, because I know that steered me away from things. I like the action, and I definitely like weeklies when I'm doing covered calls. So you have to watch out for that. A lot of these things, especially if they have low volume, low liquidity, they're going to have monthly expirations on their options plays. And you could just do that by going to the stock, looking at the options chain, and seeing when those expiration dates are. The further you go out, the more they spread out. But if you look at like the next 4 or 5, you are going to see, do they expire weekly on Fridays, or do they expire once a month? Okay, so now you've picked the stock that you want. Here are the mistakes I see people make when writing a covered call, right? When placing that call. And this is probably going to be the most mistakes I see, because, yeah, you can make some mistakes in picking a stock, but it's really, really critical that when you're writing the stock and when you're writing this option, that you do it correctly, because that's when you're going to get yourself into trouble. And it's funny, the first mistake I really see over and over again, guilty as charged. I've done it more than once. I've done it recently, and I think every single person in my Discord has done it at least once. Maybe there's some of you lurking out there that have not done it yet, but you will. And that is rushing into it and not clicking sell call. I think on most brokerage account, I know definitely in Robinhood where I've done it and I see it the most, it defaults when you go to the options chain and it's in buy call. So many people find the strike. They've done all their analytics. They're like, I'm good to go. Today's the day. I'm going to make that covered call. And they don't look at all the things. And then they realize, oh my God, I just paid a premium. My buying power just went down. And they're like, oh man, I just bought a call instead of writing and selling a call. So guys, don't rush. It's okay. Take a couple extra seconds and make sure that you are selling a call and you're not buying a call. The next is not understanding the difference between your cost basis and your strike price. Your cost basis just being what is the average price per share that you paid for your 100 shares, right? If you have 100 shares and you paid $10 for each one of those, that is a $10 basis. You do not want to make a strike less than that basis if you do not want to lose money. Can you do it? Absolutely. Will the premiums may be good? Absolutely. But if you have a basis of 10 and you go below that, when you get assigned, you are going to lose $100 for every dollar before under your basis that you pick. So know what your cost per share is. So many times people are asking about options and they're asking me about strike prices. Hey, Brad, how's the strike price look? Well, what strike price would you be looking at here? I said, okay, what's your basis? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, you need to understand how much you paid per share for those 100 shares before thinking about your strike price. The next thing I see when people are writing a call is picking an expiration that's more than like 30 to 45 days out. And that's really just understanding the Greeks and understanding theta, right? We understand that theta decays away the premium value of the option, but then at 30 to 45 days out, it really starts to ramp up. And when we are selling options, we want the value to go down so that hopefully later we can buy to close it at a lower price than we sold it for. Personally, I like to do weekly sometimes. I like to do monthlies. It really depends on how busy I am and how much I can manage in that management phase. If I can't be watching it every day, maybe I'm going on vacation, maybe I got some things going on in my life, I might write 2-3 weeks out just so I give myself a buffer so I don't have to watch it every day. With the weekly, I'm pretty much going to be monitoring that trade every single day and waiting to either roll, buy. We'll talk about that in the maintenance phase, but definitely no more than 30 days out, because you're giving some advantage to the buyer by letting them play with theta, where we want to use theta to our advantage. So go at least under 30 days. Anything under 30 days is really going to be personal preference, really. Once you go outside 30 to 45 days, like I said, you're not really doing yourself any favors. The next thing I see is people don't understand, what delta means and how delta can give you a generalized rule of thumb for your percentage of profit, okay? So I'll give you an example. When I write covered calls, my general baseline is going to be a delta of 0.3 or lower, depending on what I'm doing, okay? So now that delta is essentially the percentage that the buyer has of being profitable. So when we look at a delta of 0.3, that means between now and then, the buyer has a 30% chance of that option going into the money, right? So when we think about it from our end, if they have a 30% chance, that gives us a 70% chance success rate. So if you're new and you really want to give yourself like a pretty high probability, go to 0.2. The premiums are going to be lower, yes, but we'll see. The premiums should be the last thing you're really thinking about. So start at 0.3 and look and see where you're comfortable. And once again, look where your basis is. If your basis pushes you all the way up to 0.1 delta, that's kind of where you should start until that stock goes up. Then you could choose a strike and your deltas will change. But understand what delta means, and that's on the call and the put side. Start at 0.3, in my opinion, and then go lower than that if you need to. Some other general things, guys, a little bit more advanced, but understanding the history of implied volatility. Depending on the brokerage you're using, you can kind of look at implied volatility. When implied volatility is high, the value of an option is high. So if you are going to write a call at a low point in volatility, there's a good chance it's going to diverge back to the mean. That means the value of the option is going to increase. That is not good for you. But on the other side of the coin, if you see that historically for that stock, it's at a high implied volatility, that might be a really good time to write that covered call, because it's going to diverge back to the mean once again and lower the value of the option, which is essentially what we want. I've made mistakes of not knowing like what the ex-dividend date is and writing options in the week of an ex-dividend date. Some screwy stuff can happen. So just be mindful of ex-dividend dates when you're writing calls as well. And we want to sell calls on green days for that stock. As that stock is moving upwards, right, what that's going to do is it's going to raise the value of the option, so that you want to be writing on green days so that you get the most amount of premium collected. I know, once again, people get so excited. They work all week and then it's the weekend. They can't wait to dive in. Monday, they're like, I am going to write this call on Monday, and it starts off in the red. People are just so excited. They write that call on Monday because that's what they wanted to do. The stock is red. They got a lower premium than if they would have just waited maybe till Tuesday or till Wednesday till that stock rebounded and it's on the way up. So be patient and wait for a green day when you are going to write your calls. I think the last thing that I really see is people not understanding the difference between a return on investment versus like the percentage of the premium that you collect. I'll give you a really, really good example. I was looking into doing the SPY wheel. It's like so sexy, right? You got to put up $40K to be able to run the wheel with SPY. And I was looking at like realistic numbers on what I could do. You could only really make 2 of those 3 expirations a week. And I was looking, I was like, I can really only do like 13 to 14% on $40,000 every single year. And that's not a great return for the amount of work that I need to do the SPY wheel. It's frankly the reason I'm not doing the SPY wheel, because the return on that $40,000 investment wasn't worth all the work that I needed to do. I would much rather do something and get 20 to 30% with a stock that doesn't pay me as much premium. And I tend to look at things more as a return on investment, not an amount of money collected, right? You can collect $1 million, but if you paid $1 billion to make it, it's not that big of a deal. Like, I would rather really make $5 on a $10 investment than $100 on $1 million investment. You see what I mean? So think in terms more on return on investment, how much premium you're getting, and what is that percent return, as opposed to how much money did you need to put up to get those 100 shares to start the covered call to begin with. Last, let's get into maintaining up until expiration. I think one of the big things about maintenance is, I guess this could kind of go with writing, is people not understanding all possible scenarios. What is everything that could happen? What happens if it goes up? What happens if it goes down? What happens if it stays flat? What happens if expiration's approaching? Know all of your scenarios before you do that. But I think one of the biggest mistakes that I made when I was starting, and I see people making over and over again, is holding that option until expiration to try and squeeze out a little bit more premium. And what I mean is, we're going to be looking to buy to close. And if you don't know what buy to close is, I will link that video as well. Super important. I've heard a number of different percentages in my Discord. People hear me say all the time that as soon as I write a covered call, I set a limit buy to close order at 75% profit on the premium that I collected. So pretty much when I collect $100, right? That's the value. Let's say I collected $100 as the value of that premium. When it gets to a value of $25, meaning I had now have locked in $75 of the 100 I first got, I'm going to buy to close that. I'm going to give them $25 and I'm going to close that right away. I'm not going to try and, eke out $25 more. I've seen too many times people wait till expiration. They can't close because the volume goes down. There's no liquidity, or something happens in the media and the thing shoots up. Now you're going to get assigned. It's really, really not worth it. And I know a lot of people, 50% is even the marker for them. You need to choose what your threshold is. But guys, 99 times out of 100, I am not going to ride an option out till expiration. I mean, unless I'm going to get assigned and things are going bad for me. But as soon as I have the opportunity to close, when we are writing options, guys, your goal is to write that option, collect that premium, and get out as fast as possible with as most premium kept in your pocket as possible. And I guess like part of that maintenance, like I just said, like know how to buy to close, and really what that means, right? We sell to open, we buy to close. So when we sell, we collect premium. When we buy, we're going to give some of that premium back. We're going to keep the difference in the premium collected versus the premium we paid. That's profit, money in the bank, shorty what you drank, and then we move on to the next one. Along the lines of buying to close, I see people buying to close at a loss to avoid assignment. Guys, with the covered call, I really wouldn't be doing that. Now, something like the poor man's covered call, when you're protecting your long call, yes, I do it all the time. I roll at a loss all the time, my poor man's covered call. But don't buy to close at a loss. You'll just get yourself down this rabbit hole that you don't need to go to. Once, like I said before, if you're getting to expiration and you're like, damn it, I don't want to get assigned, you either pick the wrong stock or you pick the wrong strike price. So live and learn, get assigned, go back, sell a put against it, collect some more premiums, do the wheel, and you'll be fine. But don't buy to close, in my opinion, a covered call that's at a loss.